Happy Friday, everybody! Yeah, I just got back from watching a Rehab Room episode. And I'm telling you, man, this one's a banger because not only did he hit the nail right on the head, but you can kind of get like a more honest feel and tell on people when they're angry. Like I don't know if it's me or if it's other Indian guys or whatever. Well, maybe because the Indians are like low hanging fruit, but like maybe I'm like getting to them with my whole like appeal of like basically you know the spiritual healing of humanity by embellishing the beauty of women and like reproducing with them and like raising kids into the future because that's like anathema to this idea that like because depression exists, like the self is more important than anybody else. So the self indulgences, the self identification, the self whatever, right? And it's almost as if like everybody's saying the same thing now. Everybody's saying the same thing. Like Trump has come out and literally said without flinching, look, you guys come into this country, you have anchor babies, and you don't really fucking belong here anymore. We're going to make this outlawed because it's been happening for so long and so many of your people have come here. It's no longer our country. It's like a country with like an unlocalized, unassimilated population. And let's be fair, like Chinese, like at least to me, they're pretty good. I don't know, maybe I'm like naive to it, but like I've never had a single problem with like Chinese people for some reason. Not even once. Maybe like in like no, not even. No. Um but Indians. Man, everybody does. Everybody does. Like on a fucking daily basis, man. But that's not the important part of this video. The important part of this video is like a lot of shit's been happening. And I hate like I'm not gonna take credit for this because I don't want to. But I like magically made a prediction, right, that the violence towards women was only going to escalate, especially when it comes from lonely individuals. And now that we have the unveiling of by the FBI of all people, the SPLC funding not only the Aryan Brotherhood, some other fucking interest groups, BLM, right, like Antifa too. So like all of the chaos that has ensued on the streets because of protests has been due to the fact of this SPLC. And now every single time you look at protests, you have to ask yourself, were they funded by the SPLC? That's a very credible question. And like, let's go into like the whole black aspect, the whole African American, African origin, Caribbean, whatever, right? Like, black people are getting like literally dragged through the fucking media, and it's not a good look when you have a bunch of crazy ass people who are most likely meant to be stuck in an asylum. They're let loose. They just happen to be black, and they just walk up to like random girls, and you see this a fucking lot, even like now recently. But like, to be fair, these two individuals knew each other. I was actually like more or less referring to like the whole stranger aspect of like you randomly meeting someone that you never met before, your eyes cross, and then like I don't know, they see you as a vulnerable person, and then they proceed to attack you or whatever, or rob you or whatever. And you see this a lot, especially with women. Like, they're getting pushed to the ground and kicked in the head. It's very common where they're just getting punched very hardly, and then the guy just runs away or walks away fastly, tries to get away. It's so common now that it's like the most recent one really like turned my stomach because I don't even know how I was able to see it. I don't know how I was able to see it. Like, the guy not only picked up this girl who was like shorter than her and stuff. This was in New York, by the way. Mom Donnie's like haven for fucking criminals and stuff. But also, like, as she's like laying there on the ground, like basically winded, dazed, he just like proceeds to stomp on her head. And this this violence against specifically Caucasian women, although I wouldn't put it by me that East Asian women, maybe some South Asian women, some, whatever, even, like it actually does happen to African American women, right? Like they also have to endure this level of violence, although it's less reported on because it's not as polarizing as, black versus white type of a news story, right? But that being said, it goes back to that point that I made, that when we don't have a society that keeps tabs on crazy people like this, that this is the end result of it. Like the cops are so willing to flex their power on you, on me, on like, regular law-abiding citizens. Like, I'll bend the rules here and there, like not like putting people's lives in danger, but like, you know what I mean, right? Like I'll smoke, whatever, just be high on weed. Well, the weed's legal, so I'm not actually like, breaking any laws, but like, you know what I mean, right? Like I'm like in that gray zone of morality, and even though like I'm basically a 0% threat to society, like it's easier to pursue just to, like, for the safety of it, legal actions against me than it is against these hardened criminals, these insane people, these, incels, these pedophiles. And like this is why I think Rehab Room has made this video specifically, and he's right. Like I'm not gonna disagree with him. He probably knows that I'm like West Indian, but then he sees like my Instagram and he's like, no, this guy's Hindu. I'm just gonna fucking toss shade on India. Yeah, screw your fucking country. I'm like, all right, dude. Ugh. Maybe if he read the post, but he probably didn't want to, like, entrapped. He's like, gets the cold sweats, remembers like that time he took a camel ride back into the desert, back home. But it's true though. Like they come into the country, they start shit with everybody, and then they force people to like maybe like them and stuff, right? And it's almost as if everybody's saying the same thing too. Like Asmongold, I wouldn't say he snapped, but he's making his stance like pretty much unanimously heard. Like, I don't care if you're an anchor, baby, get the fuck out of my country. And like when you hear it from his lips, when you hear him say it, it just like hits harder home because it's like he sees what happens when you have like an endless amount of mercy. And obviously, I don't speak for Asmongold, I don't presume to or whatever, right? And like I'm just assuming what he says based off of just watching his YouTube video. So like you can interpret it differently, but like being merciful endlessly, pretending like everything was gonna be like okay all the time, right? And it's kind of funny how he like opened up about like how he and like all these fucking white boys. And this will piss me off, dude. And I'm not even black. You know what I mean? It's like this is how you make racism. You don't fuck me rocking that hard R, dog. What the fuck, man? Why would we be saying that? Like, yo, it's something to be fucking proud of, man. Nah, dude. This is just making things worse. It's like this is like the same thing of me having secondhand embarrassment with like brown people as being an Asmon Gold viewer, fan, subscriber, and shit. And he just comes out and says shit like, God damn it. And then I realized that like, yo, you can't expect everybody to just be like you, man. You gotta let like the honesty out. And when you see this level of violence, specifically perpetrated against women, you kind of get the idea that like your boy Azure, he's right. Here at Azure News, I don't fucking beat around the bush. The human race needs to be replaced, right? Let me tell you about this protest. These protests, actually, a bunch of them. Well, just this one specific one, particular one, right? That happened here in Canada. So it was a protest for the Persians. So for I guess the Shah, and then they had their lion Persian flag, and then they're doing giving out the flowers to cops and belly dancing. Their cultural stuff, right? The cultural Persian stuff, right? And then you had the counter protest, and this video, I think it was by no, it's not other Barack. It's that other guy. It's some green-eyed Israeli dude. Fuck, I'm probably gonna link the video. Fuck. My bad for forgetting her name. Anyways, but it's like the video just pissed the fuck out of me off. Like I was just like, because you know what I mean. It's in my backyard, and then I get to see physically the reason why liberals win all the time, the reason why we have such a high crime rate, the reason why people have to suffer all around the world, and we don't actually have a credible refugee program that helps people out. It's mostly like taking in people that like harm our society. Like I'm not right about that all the time, but I'm right about it more than I like to be. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to be right about it like 10, 20, 30% of the time, but it's higher than that. Like we are experiencing, the harm of having people smuggling drugs, having ties to terrorist links and all that shit. Pedophilia is the biggest one, and now that the fucking Toronto police are in on it and shit too, like you gotta fucking watch your back. You can't be calling the cops in Toronto side, man. Don't be calling out the cops anywhere. Fuck the police. Fuck the police, man. Like, yo, if you gotta like, put yourself between, right? Dirty cops and just regular cops, right? What side do you think the regular cops are going to take? They're going to take the side of the dirty cops because they're like, yo, I don't want to like, compromise my position and give, the local population power over me. The only way these people act on it is if they like, get something in on it, right? So the whole idea of this like one decorated of all things, right? Decorated Toronto police officer getting booked for all these rape charges, right? Not pedophile charges. I'm just going to specify that. Was because that like people on the no, sorry, Peel police, right, were doing the investigation, right? So you have two competing branches, jurisdictions, and shit. And most likely it was done for some sort of pro bono higher position type of shit. Like I'm actually like scratching my head. Like, wouldn't like there be like the Americans have like a internal affairs? Like, doesn't Canada have something like that? Like it's just weird to me. But then like when you realize that like if that's what it took to get justice, and like this was going on for quite some time, and most likely he had help covering it up by his fellow Toronto police officers. Not that Peel region is that much better, dude. People getting robbed by their cars. They call the precinct. It's like, all right, we'll take your call into consideration. They don't send any cops or anything. Oh, he rezzed them. I was gonna do that, or did I do that? Okay. Um, like yeah, dude. Like, and it's all done to basically mirror the existence that we all kind of knew. Like when you went to elementary school and you kind of knew these guys that like they never talked to girls. They never tried to talk to girls. And it's like this is coming from me. Dude, I have skipped so much fucking school and I was so fucking goddamn depressed in high school that like and attempted suicide. So like for me to say this, like, it's kind of as if, right, like I tried and failed, and even though like I have no um well, I didn't really fail. It's just like I was kind of an asshole myself too. I was like bigoted. I wanted everybody to be like me in my religion and shit. I was very against eating meat. I even like would like get on my parents' case about that. And look at me now. I'm like eating beef and stuff. My parents are the ones who buy it for me too. My Hindu parents, like I have good ass parents too. Oh shit. No, no, my Hindu parents would never buy me beef. Never. Shit. Fuck. Okay. Well, I'm not recording this. Nobody watches this shit anyway. No, but anyways, right? Like, fuck. What was I even talking about? Oh yeah, like, so for me to say that, right? Like, that like these guys were dealt like a harsh hand and like day after day, and like I felt this too. But it's mostly like for girls that I liked. Like I didn't really like have that limitation that I would only talk to girls that I liked. But then like I would like I said like a lot. I would develop an affection, specifically like the first girl I ever kissed at the age of 22 was Trinidadian. But like, initially, well, she had a boyfriend in high school, and she was like an honor student, and her parents didn't like me because I'm dumb. Well, they're like, I think they were doctors actually, if I'm not mistaken. She's a doctor now. But besides the point, like, you have to like really apply yourself, even if you don't think that like success is going to be garnished for you. But then when you pass that threshold, and like you encounter this a lot with like the guys, the hair transplant, the guys who are on like the roids trying to like, feign their masculinity, all these like religious groups and like, in groups that are basically covering up for their own, solitary weaknesses that as a man they can't hold it down. They need the collective, they need the group, they need society, they need the government. So like going back to this like protest, right, in Toronto side, so the counter protesters were like these like white liberal like really old people and stuff. And then I remember just seeing this guy and he takes off his mask and it was just like he looked like this old Canadian actor. I'm not gonna say who because I'm not gonna like disgrace his name. He's late great actor, living legend. Even Hideo Kojima misses him. Um, but like it was just it just clicked in my head at that very moment like what I was looking at, and this is more of the same. The SPLC, like the funding from outside sources, and like the evil of these people to like just be so obstinate, to be so dismissive of the suffering of the people of Iran and like the slaughter of it. The irony was that the girl who had criticism against these, elderly people was herself a protester against the Israeli war with Hamas. And I'm not trying to like rub salt in the wound, but it's also like crazy how no one's there for you now. The human race needs to be replaced by me.